Okay. Okay, is that okay?
Welcome to the long run number 8. Now today we're talking to international athlete Sean Hehir. Now Sean has represented Ireland at the European cross country and internationally at marathons, in the European Championships and the World Championships. Now I'd really like to thank Sean for taking time out of his busy schedule to do the interview. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to him. Anyone who knows Sean, when you mention his name in athletic circles, they always say gentleman, and he is an absolute gentleman. And thanks very much, Sean. So here we go, Sean Hehir.
So I grew up in Kilkishen in County Clare, which is a small rural parish where there's a whole load of sports, from hurling, Gaelic football, handball, soccer, to community games in the summer. And I started athletics when, at the age of 12, 13, I stopped making my local GA hurling team. I approached my parents and asked my parents what could I do to try and get better as a hurler, and they said, well, look, there's cross-country trials coming up in your secondary school in St. Fannan's College. Sign up to that, and maybe by training for that, it might make you a better hurler, and you might have a better chance of making the hurling team. So with that, I signed up to the school cross-country team in St. Fannan's College. Arthur Ford was the teacher in charge there, and yeah, through signing up to the school cross-country team, I ended up not being an overnight success or anything like it. I was, I think, 5th or 6th scorer on the cross-country team, but over the months that followed, I developed a love for the sport, and yeah, I never looked back. It definitely made me a better sports person in hurling, Gaelic football, soccer, and other sports. But by the time that I came to 14 and 15, when it comes to crunch time around the junior cert, to decide on what your priorities are, I'd already decided that athletics was for me, much to my mother's delight. In our family, the two big sports would be hurling, as my father played hurling for Clare back in the 70s and the 80s, and my mother would have ran very competitively when she was a junior and senior athlete as well. So my mother was delighted when I decided to stick with running competitively when I was a teenager. So I started athletics in St. Fannan's College due to my coach being Arthur Ford. He was very much involved with Marion Athletic Club in Ennis at the time as well. And through him and through that association with the school cross-country team, he encouraged me to join the local club as well. Didn't put any pressure on me, and it was through him that I basically joined Marion Athletic Club in Ennis. And I have to say, he was an absolutely brilliant coach. He coached everything from throws to jumps to distance to sprints events. He was absolutely outstanding coach. Didn't put any pressure on me, and you know, he encouraged me along the way, the whole way through my secondary schooling. So yeah, that's how I eventually joined Marion Athletic Club in County Clare. My favourite distance would be the marathon, understandably, given the very positive experiences that I've had over the marathon distance these last few years. And my favourite event, without question, is the Dublin Marathon. Jim Ockney, Jean, Jerry, Eugene, and all the Dublin Marathon team are incredibly passionate about the events that they put on, whether it's for fun runners, club runners, intermediates, seniors, masters. They really go above and beyond in terms of the organisation of the event that they put on in the race series and for the Dublin Marathon itself. The Dublin Marathon, really, it's an event like no other. It's the highlight of the Irish athletics calendar for a reason. Like, you have people who wouldn't normally engage with the sport out in the streets in their thousands, cheering on people from all over the country and all over the world. It really showcases Dublin City, and it really showcases the Irish athletics at its very best. And look, I think that's a credit to Jim and the team. And through Jim and the Marathon Mission Initiative that he started up to try and improve marathon standards amongst the elite and sub-elite marathon runners, through Jim I've had many opportunities of competing abroad over the last few years as well, and I'm very thankful for that. My best events, or my best race for me, would be the 2012 National Inter-County Cross-Country Championships that was held in Meath. It came 4 weeks after my debut marathon in Dublin. That kind of went under the radar. Paul Pollock had an outstanding run to win the national championship in 2:16. I ran 2:17 just ahead of my best friend Barry Minnick, and 4 weeks later I towed the line in the National Inter-County Cross-Country Championships in Ferryhouse in the Clare Vest. Wasn't expected to do anything, and I ended up finishing in 3rd place, just behind Joe Sweeney and Nick Mulhare, just ahead of Brian Maher, Stephen Scully and Paul Pollock and a few others as well. And look, I ended up getting my first Irish Senior Championship vest in the European cross country in Budapest, which was an incredible experience. Seamus Power was my hero growing up, being from Clare, so to win a national senior cross country medal in the Clare vest and to represent Ireland at the European cross country championships, look, there was no greater honour than that, and it really was a catalyst for a lot of things that came thereafter. So, my immediate plans for the future are to compete in the Wrexham Marathon on the Welsh-English border in 3 weeks' time, hopefully, if that event gets over the line. And my goal there is to try and hit a qualifying standard for the European Championships in Munich in 2022. Given everything that's happened in the last 12 to 14 months, I would love to wind down my competitive career, getting one last shot at representing Ireland at the European Championships. And beyond that, look, there are no events domestically on the Irish athletics calendar. Hopefully that can change in the weeks and months ahead. But beyond that, again, look, when I am done being a competitive athlete, I hope that I can get involved in the sport in some capacity, similar to people like my coach Arthur Ford or my current coach Dick Cooper, or in a voluntary capacity. I mean, look, the reality is the Irish athletics community is grounded in a community of volunteers, and really without them the sport wouldn't be able to run the way that it does. So I hope that when I'm done competing, I can roll up my sleeves and get involved and be proactive in the same way that they have been these last few years as well. So, look, there's no doubt about it that the shoes have changed the game in terms of performance. What I will say is that athletics has been a sport that's kind of come to the table late in terms of embracing technology and innovation. And I don't necessarily think that the changes that have been brought about by the shoe technology are a bad thing. Having competed and trained in the shoes prior to the carbon plate revolution, look, the wear and tear on the body is significantly less. So you'd like to think that not alone will performances improve, but maybe athletics careers can be prolonged as a result of the innovation and the changes that are being embraced in shoe technology. But look, we do have a new normal. We have to accept that too. And I think to say otherwise would be disingenuous. But it's not necessarily a bad thing for the sport. With regards to nutrition, I don't overthink it, and I think a lot of us wouldn't overthink it. Obviously, look, if you're training 10 to 12, 13 times a week running wise, and on top of that you're trying to do your strength and conditioning sessions 3 to 4 times a week, look, you need to fuel your body and you need to fuel it right. But I wouldn't be one for embracing shakes or protein bars or things like that. The only time that any of that would come into play would be, let's say, for marathon paced long runs, where I might experiment with gels that I might want to use during a marathon, or different drink mixes that I might want to use during a marathon. But I don't overthink it. Look, important, you're burning a huge amount of calories. If you're training for a marathon, you're burning a huge amount of calories, so it's important that you fuel your body right. But it's not something that I overthink. My wife and I share our cooking duties at home. She's a much better cook than I am. But yeah, look, we keep it simple. And I mean, the reality is that, look, it's not something to overcomplicate.
There you go, guys. Sean Hehir. Now that was really interesting. I'd like just to say again to thank Sean for taking time out of his very busy schedule to talk to us. Like, Sean is training as a full-time athlete and he works full-time as a teacher as well. So thanks very much, Sean. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here on the channel, like, share, and if you could, guys, subscribe. Thanks very much. Bye now.